So I tell my mom we do.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast a marlow or two, and prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? Welcome to another godly episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name's Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 306, quoted Monday, February 22nd, 2021. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a new release, Saint Maud. Before we get into the review, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy, Randy Gandy G. Landy. What's up, man?
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, godly Mangs, and peace be unto you, and to you,
We are Mangs
and
of
many
God.
more. We are ready to go on this very Christ-like episode. I'm stoked.
Mhm.
I'm excited to talk about this movie.
I feel him. I feel him in me. It's tight.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, at least you're giving him what he needs.
Last but not least, calling in from the Jacksonville, Florida, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
What up, bitch? Your boy Saint Stains. Bow down and rejoice. Savior
Is a saint stain like one of those things that you find and it looks like Mother Mary and you have a big press junket about it?
It's just real melty
It's
looking.
toast.
Yeah, it's
Godly toast.
It's extra melty.
Spread a little jam on it. And,
All right.
You're saved.
Yeah, that maybe I'm the patron saint of alcohol. That'd be all right, right?
I
Do
mean,
they have one of those yet?
I mean, you could be
Probably.
Bacchus if you
I
want.
think-
I don't know if that's a
Can I get
patron
in
saint.
there?
I think
but,
it's called Jesus.
Can I sign up for that one?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think Jesus is
Yeah.
fits that description because his blood is wine. So
Let me go ahead and fill out the application.
That dude is wasted 24/7. Let me tell you.
Damn.
Jesus stains. Before we get into the main event, let's
Jesus.
tackle some housekeeping real quick. Here's your final reminder. Our March poll pick is currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're going to be talking about this March. The theme for March is adult animated horror movies, and the 3 movies you can vote between are Akira, Forbidden Planet, and Wicked City.
Bob,
Juice.
this is the last week of February. How are those numbers looking?
They're looking mighty good. Wicked City, I think, is going to take it. So we're all going to be watching that for the first time. Hopefully it doesn't suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope so.
Are we?
heard-
I thought you had seen it, Bob. You haven't seen that one?
No, I have
No.
not. I've heard crazy things, though, so I am
Really?
excited about it. Yeah.
I gotta hear these crazy things.
They are so crazy and so good to hear. Yeah, I don't know what accent that was, but you're welcome.
Yeah.
In other Patreon news, we do have a brand new Patreon supporter that we have to give mad shouts out
Oh.
to.
Whoa.
Yes.
Hey.
News is joyous, and we must say a big, giant thank you to Caitlin. We really do appreciate it. Every dollar you guys contribute goes right back into the show. And as is tradition around these parts, we owe you the straight chilling salute. This one is for Caitlin.
Oh, God, slap me in the ass.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you for the ass lap, Caitlin.
Uh-huh.
Keeping it
'em-
red and pert.
Keep them coming. Keep that ass nice and red. Also, in Patreon news, we just dropped a new mini cast. So if you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to exclusive Patreon content. I recently did a review for a movie called 12-Hour Shift,
Whoa.
which is a horror comedy that was written and directed by Bria Grant.
Bria Grant. I've heard of
Indeed.
her.
You certainly have. So yeah, it's currently up on Hulu,
or Amazon. I forget which one it is. I think it's Amazon. So you can watch it on Amazon Prime, and then check out my thoughts over on Patreon. What else we got? We got a lot of YouTube news. What's going on with our YouTube?
Oh, my Lord. We have a ton of YouTube housekeeping to get to. If you haven't heard, over on the Slack or on the YouTubes, Bob has been a quarantine this weekend. He's been blasting a lot of issues. But that means he's needed someone to entertain him. So I obliged, which means that we have a ton of new YouTube content over at youtube.com/straight chilling podcast. In fact, a new type of series. You can look for that sweet baby blue color on the redesign for our YouTube. That means you're going to be getting a new drunk reactions to some new horror trailers that came out. We talked about Mortal Kombat. We talked about the new trailer for the new Danzig film.
Death Rider in the House of Vampires.
Thank you.
I got you.
We talked about a movie coming to Shudder called Lucky. They dropped a new trailer for that. And then also a movie that Arrow is releasing on their streaming service called The Stylist. Yeah. So we have 4 new videos that you can check out. We watch the trailers, we kind of react to them, we take a shot. So that's some new stuff. We also, to entertain Bob, the quarantine, we played some video games, some horror-esque video games. We played a retro game. That's about all Bob can handle these days.
True.
An old SNES
Retro
game.
is our entire lives at this point.
An old SNES game called Zombies Ate My Neighbors. And it's a fun co-op game. We played together and it was a lot of fun. A great, just a lot of fun, respect toward a ton of just horror movies, genres. Yeah, you got werewolves. There was like a Tremor-esque level,
Mummy level.
Mummy. Yeah, it was a lot of fun actually. So you can check that out over on our Twitch channel. That's twitch.tv/straight chilling podcast. And me and Bob had some fun. We had a lot of people helping us out in the chat per usual. So thank you for everyone who tuned into that. And I think it's about all we got for the old YouTube housekeeping.
Yeah, I think that is all we have in general for our housekeeping. Dare I say this house is clean?
This house is clean.
All right, it's time to get into the main event. We're talking about Saint Maud, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Okay, Saint Maud is definitely a movie we've been looking forward to watching for over a year now. It was supposed to come out, I believe, in April of 2020 originally. It played some festivals back in 2019, so it's just been kind of lingering for quite some time. It is currently on Epix, which is a premium streaming platform. You can watch it there. It's also got a limited theatrical release. So it's still a little bit hard to track down, but you can watch it if you want to. This movie was written and directed by Rose Glass. This is her feature-length debut. And the plot synopsis is as follows. Saint Maud follows a pious nurse who becomes dangerously obsessed with saving the soul of her dying patient. Short and sweet, brought to you by IMDb. Since there is no back of the box, I cannot read it.
Not yet. Bob,
Not yet.
Bob, when's this box coming out?
I don't know.
Dear God.
Rob's already got a space marked out. He's got
Saint Maud goes here.
Got some
Draws like a little picture, some handmade art. This
just
is
some
where you'll
foam
go.
core with a Sharpie marker on it. Saint Maud.
You belong here, Saint Maud.
I have a rosary filed in between 2 Blu-rays. That's where it'll go eventually.
As God intended.
A holy space.
Very holy, very spacious. I know we have not seen this before because it's a new movie. But real quick, gentlemen, would you recommend people check out Saint Maud? Randy, why don't you kick us off?
I would. It's as always with qualifiers. I would say that I think that most horror fans are going to get something out of this, but just so people know what they're getting into, it's a bit of I think that most of our listeners probably have plenty of capability to ride along with a movie at this pace. So should be fun, but just know that it's not a laugh a minute romp or anything like that.
All right, Juice, what about you?
Yeah, so I ended up watching this twice. So that says something to you. I was able to catch it in the theaters. They showed it at our local theater here. And then it was on YouTube for a while and like solid quality. So I caught it there too before we talked about it again. Because we watched it, I don't know, it's been like 3 weeks since we saw it in theaters. I would say, yeah, it's pretty much like A24. It's got that kind of art house horror feel to it. A lot of like dull colors, earth tone kind of colors. And it's a slow burn in a lot of ways. And it's religious. So not everybody's going to dig on this, but I think it's a quality film. And I think it's got some really interesting things that it's talking about. But it's definitely not going to be for everyone. If you're more of a spectacle kind of person, if you like the crazy blood and the gore or like cheesiness and stuff, then you might not get much out of this. But if you're okay with slow burns or interest in like religious horror, then you'll dig on this, I think.
Bless you, Juice.
Thank you.
Bless you, sweet summer child.
Bless you.
That's the seal of approval.
You have been forgiven.
That was
You have been
Spirit of
stained
God
with the
trying to
blessings
escape
of
me.
stain.
I forced him back in.
Yeah, you ain't going nowhere.
Get in there, God.
Maud, bless you.
Yeah. Bob,
Yo,
let's be polite about this. Bob,
thank you.
would you recommend people check this out?
Yeah. I would. I watched this twice as well, Juice. Both times we're in the theater. We've got a dope art house theater that gets a lot of these limited releases. Thank the Lord. So I saw it twice there. It's A24 does Catholic horror is what this is. It's very much slow burn. If you were a big fan of The Witch, then you'll probably dig this. I think in a lot of ways this is a little bit too familiar. I think A24 might be, I don't know, becoming a little more predictable than I would like, I guess. But in general, I enjoyed this movie. It is certainly a well-crafted horror movie. And if you are into the slow burns, you will be into Saint Maud. So I do recommend it. Sounds like a solid recommend from the Straight Chilling crew in general. Let's go ahead and drop the spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
Saint Maud!
Saint Maud!
It feels good to yell. I don't know why.
Just really works with that tone.
It does. I have a full plot synopsis typed out. This movie is pretty straightforward, so it's fairly short. It won't take me long to get through, if you will indulge me, gentlemen.
All right, Bob, let's get it over with.
Indulgence begins now.
All right. This movie opens up with Maud sitting on the floor in a hospital room with blood-covered hands looking up at the ceiling with a cockroach on it. We then jump to... And that's it. That's the end of it. We then jump to present day, where Maud is a live-in nurse who gets assigned to a wealthy retired dancer named Amanda, who is battling with cancer. Maud is a devout Catholic who claims to feel the presence of God. Maud shares this information with Amanda, who claims to feel God within her as well. Amanda eventually hires male and female prostitutes to come by the house, which Maud disapproves of and attempts to run them off. Amanda throws a party and ends up confronting Maud about her meddling in her personal life. Maud eventually slaps Amanda when she is mocked for her faith, and Amanda, of course, ends up firing Maud. Maud then has a downward spiral where she no longer feels God. She gets drunk at a bar, goes home with a random dude. She then talks to God, who appears to her as a cockroach, and she now knows her true purpose. She ends up returning to Amanda's home in the middle of the night. Amanda apologizes to Maud, but still rejects faith. Maud then believes Amanda is possessed by a demon and stabs her to death. The movie ends with Maud on the beach, self-immolating with a group of onlookers, panicking. But from Maud's perspective, the crowd drops to their knees and worships her.
Ooh, that sounds like a hot Friday night.
Yeah, that's about right.
Real hot.
Real hot.
Quite literally, because she's on fire.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get into this.
I guess so. So let me start with this real quick. You guys saw this twice, and I can tell. I mean, not just because of that, but just because of the way you guys talk about this movie, that you got something out of this. Like Justin in particular, it sounds like you really got something out of this. I kind of felt like kind of what Rob was alluding to in his intro or his recommendation. I kind of feel like this was a little stale, maybe. I enjoyed it, and like the craft of it was pretty good. But there's something like there was like not much of an element of surprise to this movie for me.
I agree.
Yeah, it's pretty. I actually, my initial viewing, and actually maybe even the second one, just to make sure, like when I was watching the second time, I was maybe a little disappointed, because I guess I was expecting a little more push and pull between the characters of Maud and what's her name, Amanda.
Yeah.
I thought like it was going to be more of this thing, and we got glimpses of it, because I mean the idea of this dying person is the one who's rejecting God when they might be facing them very soon, and the alternative is this young, should be going out living life person who's devout and is taking care of them is the one who is very devout and yet being kind of mocked for it. They both have their own extremes. That's very intriguing idea. And when the trailer dropped, I thought like, wow, that is actually a really cool idea for a very kind of religious horror. Because also too, another thing is I was assuming that Amanda would be kind of helpless to where Saint Maud, or like if Maud like freaked out or locked her in her bed or chained her to, whatever she wanted to do, like there's nothing that Amanda could like do about it. So I thought they might even go that kind of horror route, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And I thought, now I watched, the second time I watched, it was about the halfway mark. And this is a pretty short movie. It's not even quite 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was about the 40-minute mark that Maud breaks from Amanda and kind of goes her own way. And I think what's kind of lacking from this film is the whole second half is just like Maud by herself kind of wrestling with her faith. And I think there is something interesting there once you know that that's what it's going to be. But the expectations for me, like I was disappointed because I expected it to be something I found more intriguing up front. Now there is still substance there and you have to go into it like knowing that, but I was disappointed initially for sure.
So yeah, I think that you pinpointed kind of what I'm feeling about this movie, which it isn't so much that it's bad. It's just that what was the most interesting thing about this movie is the interplay between Amanda and Maud. And like, you find out about Maud's history or whatever, and all that stuff's real interesting, and watching her like slowly devolve or whatever, that's all real interesting. But it's about the relationship between this woman and her faith, and then her patients and their faith. Like what's going on with Maud is like, it's good on its own, but there seemed to be like the push and pull that she had with Amanda the first half of the movie is so interesting, and they just don't really play that off of, they don't play with each other's faith anymore after that like scene, after she leaves the employment up until right at the end, like you said. So like just that absence of that things playing off each other, I guess it makes a kind of sense because it's, this girl is siloing herself, and the ideas are just bouncing around in her head with no counterpoint or no contrapposta to it or whatever. So maybe that's got its value or whatever. But I really wanted to see Amanda weigh in more, and kind of like maybe even catch a glimpse of like, what the hell is going on with this girl? Are you okay? Like have a moment of of empathy in return, that's not just that's centered around faith. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This movie is about Maud. It's about Maud's struggle with her own faith. Like she claims to be very devout. She claims to feel God, but it's obvious that that's not always true, or at least she like is only able to convince herself that it's true in certain situations. I mean, the movie is just called Saint Maud, so I expected to see like a character study of Saint Maud, and that's basically what the second half of the movie is. The first half is just like her I don't know, in her confidence. And then whenever she has that break where she gets fired, we kind of get to know the real Maud. Like, she is not that convinced in her faith as she would have you believe she is. And I think that's very interesting. I think my biggest disappointment in this movie is the fact that it sort of starts off by telling you, like, hey, she's crazy. Like, it starts off with her hands covered in blood. And I think the movie would be far more interesting if you were really able to question whether or not she could feel God throughout the course of the movie. Whereas, like, they just kind of show their hand way too early for me. And you're like, okay, well, there is no central mystery here anymore. She's mentally ill. And that's what you get.
Well, I guess so. Here's one, like, I really want to touch on that. Like, is she crazy? Is God real? Does she experience God? Does God work through her? I think, like, one thing I'm going to do when we talk about this film, and I think it's, to me, almost impossible to separate based on the subject matter and the studio, is comparing this movie to The Beach.
Agreed.
Because for, like, many reasons, there's, like, one or two, like, very, very obvious ones, but the idea of like The Beach, and one thing I find so interesting about it is it's kind of like the opposite side of a coin a little bit with this film, is that the woman we follow in The Witch, one of the things you're questioning, like, in that movie is there a witch and stuff like that, but the way that religion, I guess, is presented in that is in the people she interacts with, like her father and like her brother, and how that affects her and reflects off of her. So by the end, and everything that happens through the movie, by the end of The Beach, I don't, like, question what I'm seeing. Like, I take it as, and I don't want to do a spoiler for The Witch. We've all seen it, so I know you guys know what I'm going to talk about, but I don't question the ending of that movie. I accept it for what it is. I mean, there is some ambiguity there for sure, but with Saint Maud, it, like, through both viewings of this movie, it really was about, like, okay, what's happening, like, what's really happening, or how untrustworthy is our narrator. And I do agree that, like, they do play that hand, like, pretty heavy, where, like, she's not reliable, but we see things in the film and we have to say, like, is the director lying to us? Is the film lying to us? Is this what she's really experiencing? Like, what's really happening here, I guess? And so I am gonna compare this to The Witch a lot through different scenes, but that was kind of my take on it.
There was a certain sequence in this movie that leaves you no choice but to compare it to The Witch.
For sure.
When the roach shows up
and starts
at
talking
the beginning of the third act, that is taken from The Witch.
I literally, when that scene happened, well, when that scene happened, right, like, we saw the roach crawl, she was laying in her bed, we were all watching in the theater together, and before anything happened, I literally leaned over to Bob and was like, would you like to live deliciously? And then it started speaking, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? It felt, the first time I saw it, it was surprising, but it felt cheap a little bit, because that's such an infamous scene. I don't know, what do you think, Randy?
I mean, I gotta actually disagree with you on the ambiguity of this movie. I definitely think that The Witch is a more ambiguous movie than this one, and I don't think that movie is all that ambiguous. I think that there's one scene in particular, I think there's a wealth of evidence that this movie is front to back, like Rob said, this woman isn't well mentally. And in fact, the ambiguity that I would have liked to have seen is really more like if they had tempered her religious zealotry to make it less concerning right on the outset. You know what I mean? To make it more, like, uplifting for this woman. They kind of play that hand a little bit. But like, from the beginning, she's already kind of like, you know, like, she's very, like, she's corporal punishment on herself and all this stuff. Like, she's talking about wasting pain, and she's doing all these monologues about Christ or whatever. And that's all valuable to the story of a woman going insane. But it's kind of like early in the game for me to know how twisted she is, and to kind of keep that baseline all the way until just about the end. So to me, that was kind of, but like, as far as like what happened, I think there was a little ambiguity here. Like, you could read into it and say, like you said, like, there's nothing 100% proof positive, but I think it comes pretty damn close with the very last shot of this movie.
I think that
there's no reason to show that.
If you had any questions, it's squashed by that last second of footage, basically. I wish that So like at the very, speaking of the end of the movie, we see when she lights herself on fire, from her perspective, she gains like these angel wings and people fall on their knees and like kind of worship her and stuff. And she, we get that last second, she's actually burning to death, and it's very gruesome and horrific. But another, like you said, Randy, she mentions a line in the movie several times: never waste your pain.
Yeah.
And we see her like inflicting harm on herself throughout the entire movie. I wish that we would have gotten more flashes of her like with the angel wings or something similar to that. So like when she's walking on the pins and needles that she puts in her shoes, like we just see her actually in pain. I wish like we would have seen, I don't know, something godly happen there. And like when she burns her hands, something a little more godly happen there to make you as the viewer question like, okay, maybe she really does see God.
Well,
or just if it got results of some kind.
Yeah, some kind of result.
Small, like something that could be construed as a positive result out of that.
Yeah.
Then it gives you a little pause, maybe.
Here's where I disagree with that a little bit and where my mind was going. I ultimately agree. But I did feel more pull, even between both viewings of this movie, a little bit more pull of, she's obviously crazy. And that's not necessarily like my question. What I did find intriguing after my second viewing and after I tried to like wrestle with this a little bit, and what I respect about it is, if you're taking this as a religious horror, okay, what we experience from Maud's perspective would be what, if you really like got into it and like, let me read the Bible or whatever, this is like what somebody who's like persecuted for believing God would experience. You know, like imagine like if God spoke to you. Like, how would you even tell anybody about that without any kind of persecution of being labeled as insane? Or so I like the ideas, I guess, of throughout the history of Christianity. I mean, like the Bible based on people speaking to these things that nobody else can see, telling them to do wild shit that everybody mocks them for, that everybody persecutes them for. And yet there are billions of people who accept that as a truth and who accept that as like a noble spirituality. And yet we're seeing the reality of it here in this movie, where like when it's on pages of a book, of a Bible, it's all like, oh yes, these people did the will of God, praise them. But like when you see it in like what it would look like in reality, in today, if an angel came and spoke to somebody today, like what would that look like? And I think this movie captures.
It was a marriage to the beast.
Yeah, I mean, I think the movie captures that, and I respected that about it, I guess.
I feel like it's less about her being persecuted for beliefs, though. Like she does like get made fun of at the party, but like the only reason she loses her job is because she slaps Amanda in the face, and that's really the only bit of persecution we see.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I guess even her struggling with it, like, cause we see her saying like, "Is this fucking real?" She kind of struggles with that idea, like, "Am I fucking nuts?" And that's kind of a reaction somebody would have if somebody spoke to an angel or God. Like, am I fucking insane? I mean, we see her have these, supposedly, she's not reliable. We see her have these physical reactions where she's saying like, I'm being embodied by God. Or we see through her eyes, like Amanda turns into a demon, or these things happen. It's like, is that happening to her? Like, does she really believe that? Now, obviously, I agree, like, especially with that ending scene where she's just fucking burning alive. But there were people who did that. There are people throughout religious history who set themselves on fire, who people praise as being godly.
I know. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh.
I was just gonna say, like, I almost don't even see this as much of a religious movie. Like the way we're talking about, I understand. I mean, obviously, and on some level it is, and there's a lot to be talked about within religion or whatever. But like Rob said, I don't see a persecution angle on this. That sounds like an interesting movie, but I don't think that's this movie. At least wasn't for me. To me, this movie is about somebody who clearly has some severe trauma from her previous job, which we learn a little bit about throughout the course of the movie, but without giving too much, information. It was just enough for us to know that it was extremely like mentally breaking for her. She lost her job. She like it was the opening scene of the movie, and it's like the catalyst for everything.
Well,
like I think about her dealing with her trauma. we did kind of like, yeah, and through
Yeah.
flashback and like through
She
kind of like
killed somebody.
symbiosis.
She killed
She
somebody
killed
while
the
she
guy
was
by
doing
trying.
Just saying.
Right.
CPR. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know how much more there is to that. We
Yeah.
don't know what the fallout from that was. And we know that her religion came as a result directly of that, because it's explicitly stated in this movie that she was not religious until recently. So
Yeah.
to me, like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, okay, so this is a woman with trauma using religion as a crutch to keep her from feeling that intense weight of guilt from this murder. And to me, that's when the movie stopped. Like, the religious aspect was almost incidental at that point. At that point, it became entirely about this woman's frame of mind, not necessarily her method of coping, but the fact that she is trying to cope. Does that make sense?
That's true. And I guess I really shouldn't have said the word persecution, because I agree, she's not necessarily persecuted other than she's like kind of mocked. But it really is like that struggle of, like, she thinks she's trying to do the right thing, and she thinks she has talked to God, and because of that she makes these decisions. And when she tries to go back to her old ways, like giving dudes like hand jobs in the bathroom and like getting wasted and fucked up, all it does is like bring her back to a spiritual religious experience. And it really is like, okay, I guess I like the idea of like, that is what, like, even if she wasn't crazy, like, that's what it would look like if God spoke to somebody today. Like, that's what it would say. And that's cool. That's like a cool,
that's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
I just don't necessarily see it in this movie as much as you have.
I like how this movie invites comparisons between religion and mental illness, which is sort of like a tricky conversation to have, I think. But Justin, you were kind of touching on it. Like, if you took the Bible verbatim and like you saw someone doing things said in the Bible, it looks like they're crazy. But, you know, are they? Or do they truly just believe that they can talk to God and see angels and stuff? And I don't know, I think it's like an interesting conversation to have about this movie.
It's almost like an old conversation, because like you see like Facebook posts and shit of people being like, or like, think about like fucking Bruce Almighty. That whole thing is like, the end of the movie is, oh, the homeless guy holding the weird signs, he turns out to be God the whole time, and you just walked right by him, didn't you, you sinner? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, that's not an uncommon like thing, but to frame a horror movie around that is a great idea. To me, there's just not enough like really strong like evidence that I got from this movie that made me feel like that's what this movie was getting at. To me, it just felt the whole time like, this is a woman spiraling, and this is a woman whose spiral is gonna hurt somebody, if not just herself. Because like we see her like lying down on popcorn kernels and shit, and like that's just to start. Like what, all the self-flagellating, all that stuff. Like, this is not a well person, and people do that for sure. They do that, and there is something to be said about like the religious nature of that. What maybe it's saying like what maybe this is like an anti-religious film where it's saying like people who are like, you know, whipping themselves or whatever, literally whipping themselves, a psychosis or whatever. Maybe that's what this movie's positing. But to me, it really just seemed like this is a woman who experienced some severe trauma as an individual, who the only way she could contextualize it in a way that's acceptable to her is that pain that she experienced now has a purpose, because God is guiding her life.
Yeah, well, and I guess that's why I disagree. I guess the things I've been talking about are why I disagree with why I wouldn't want to see what Bob was talking about. Because another thing is like, you have to like a common theme like from the Bible is people like not so Bob like wants to see results from the pain. Like, oh, obviously like something good happens because you do God. Like, that's not what the Bible's about though. Yeah, like the thing is like you believe and you suffer and you suffer, and then when you die, you just fingers crossed you go to heaven. And so it's not a direct like, I walked on these spikes for you, God, so let me get like immediate relief or satisfaction. So that's why I wouldn't want to see that, because that's what it really should look like according to religion. You know, you suffer and you suffer and you suffer, and you have to question. And it's this test of your faith. Do you really love God? Do you really? Because he's never going to show himself to you. He's never going to give you what you think you want and all this stuff. And it's like, that's where faith becomes so important. It's like, you just have to believe or whatever. And
That's
so
where you
that's
gotta
why I
go to
want to see those visualizations.
Yeah,
That's when you got to go to the pay to prosper model.
I'm speaking more about this woman being mentally ill. And
Right.
That's why I want
How
to see
she
it.
As a
responds
journey
to
for
it, yeah.
us,
How she envisions
watching
it,
this
yeah.
woman.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree on both ends. It depends on what she's going for.
Yeah.
It depends on what she's really aiming for with everything. So to me, it just seems like if there is a religious aspect to this movie, like if the point is really like centered on religion, as it seems like everybody thinks it is because of all the religious symbology and everything, like if there's a point to all that goes beyond her just like using it as a crutch, it to me speaks to, you know, what you're talking about on some level, which is people trying to find meaning in the suffering of living. You know, that's what most religion is people
Sure,
trying to
yeah.
find some sort of meaning or way of getting through the suffering of day-to-day life, of what life is. And our day-to-day life now is leaps and bounds ahead of the past. So I mean, yeah, you're talking about these people who live their lives, they suffer, they become martyrs, and then we tell ourselves that they went to heaven for their suffering. I think for the most part has some variation on this. So
Yeah.
in that respect, I think there's something to be said here. It's like this one, maybe this is an anti-religion film. Maybe this is saying like, you know, stop clinging to these things. This woman was given every out possible. Like she had a friend that was caring for her, trying to reach out for her. She had, you know, a very, I think, considering her own personal beliefs, I think Amanda was very reasonable towards her up until that one party where she lashed out because she's a
Yeah.
dying woman who,
Yeah.
you know, like who, you know, is dealing with her own emotional trauma. So I don't know. I guess I'm trying to connect that dot a little bit more. And if I can find like the perfect angle to look at this, I feel like my rating of this movie is going to go up like a whole point. Like, because like watching it, when I did, it just kind of felt like it was a little thin because it felt like the psychology angle was all it was just a de-evolution of a person's brain, basically,
Yeah.
with a religious skew.
So I want to give these
don't
two
know.
trivia points. Now, I found it more intriguing. I think you guys are not going to find it as intriguing. When I read it, I was really happy I read it because I had a little bit more of that push and pull. Now, ultimately, I was like, especially because that last scene and everything, like this poor girl she accidentally killed somebody and she's fucking crazy. Like she's just going off the fucking deep end until she burns herself alive. Like poor, like dear God. But there was still that still idea of like, well, you know, did God actually speak to her? Like, maybe. I'm probably not, but you know, still. However, I want to read this piece of trivia because there's not much trivia, so I want to talk about this. God. So when the cockroach comes down and speaks as God or whatever, God is voiced by Morfydd Clark, or I don't know how to say her name, but it's the girl who plays Maud. So the girl who plays Maud voices God. She's speaking Welsh, and they just pitch her voice down to sound like the crazy God voice or whatever. So she is speaking, which I think is a great artistic touch, if nothing else. That impressed me. I was like, that's fucking cool.
I'm proud to say I clocked that when I watched it.
Randy, nice.
Well, I don't know. I had to piece together that it was her voice, but I was like, that sounds like a pitch dropped lady's voice to me. And there's only one reason to really do that here that I can think of. And that's to make it clear, like through subtext, that this is her subconscious telling her what she needs to hear in order to push away this traumatic experience that she's wrestling with.
Good ear.
Yeah.
I did not pick up on that.
I didn't either. And when I read it, I was like, that just from like an artistic standpoint, that's just some smart shit. I think it's smart.
Yeah.
Another one, I don't really know the significance of this, but it seems like it might have some. It's got to. Maud's eyes are two different colors. One is blue/green, bluish green or whatever, and one is brown. However, the actress who plays her only has green eyes. So that was like a conscious choice
Yeah.
to give her two different colored eyes.
You know, that's used a lot. That's a trope that I see a lot in film and stuff where people have two colored eyes, which is something that you see in nature. So it's. But I don't know exactly what the significance of it is in any of those movies that I see it in for the most part, unless it's a situation where it's like somebody has inhabited, like in Bly Manor, they did that where they, once somebody had inhabited a living person, a ghost inhabited a living person, the eye color of one eye changes. So there's a specific reason for that. And I got to think there's a reason for it here, but I'm not sure exactly what it is because she's not split personality. I mean, I guess if you want to say that she is God, like to that end, like she is the God she's praying to, then I guess you could put it that way. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Also, she changes her name to Maud, and I don't know what the significance of that is because I don't know the historical or context.
Mikey said something about it. What did he say?
I don't remember what he said.
He said something about the name Maud is like what Latin or something for, was it Mary or like something?
Maybe
not or I don't know. He said something about it where it seemed to have some kind of religious like significance.
This says that in Old German it meant powerful battler.
Okay, maybe not. I don't know.
And I think her real name is like Katie or something pretty.
Yeah, her name was Katie. So yeah, that is a strange choice. Also, one thing we need to talk about, me and Bob talked about this for a while. It's a weird choice. I don't exactly know why they made it. It's interesting, but the setting, everybody's British to the point to where even the bum on the street is British and like talks in British lingo. And then even Amanda's like guy friend who comes, like older guy friend, says he has a line of like, oh, you should be in London. You shouldn't be wasting away here. Yet.
Is that what he says?
Yeah, he says something about like, oh, you need to be back in London.
I thought he
or whatever.
said like something about her being in London and that's where they were. Is that not?
No, he said come back to London.
Yeah, come back to London. So, but there's this huge sign that says Coney Island. And we looked, there is no Coney Island. And there's a place called Blackpool that's like very similar looking. Like it's the beach town. It's got I'm pretty sure that's where they filmed it. But it specifically says Coney Island on that big ass sign that she walks by.
I'm pretty sure that's just the name of the arcade that is housed in that building because it's like it? Yeah, it's like a Chuck E. Cheese type of like boardwalk arcade.
Okay, I don't know. That made it seem
confusing. Especially because I thought it was London, so I was like, oh, so this must be like the boardwalk arcade. They call it Coney Island Arcade or whatever.
I'm pretty sure it was filmed in a place called Blackpool, but not 100% on that.
Blackstool.
So, yeah.
I did want to talk a little bit about like some of the artistic choices in this movie, specifically like the camera movements. There's a lot of like very extreme angles happening here. And there's this one shot towards the end. There's a few dolly shots, but there's one specific dolly shot like right after she kills Amanda and she's walking out of the house. Where it's sort of looking up at her in like the night sky, and it makes it look like she's floating, like she is like angelic and floating across the lawn. Fucking love that shot. That's like the chef's kiss for this movie, in my opinion. It's just very artistically, like, I don't know, almost flawless. Like there's such a great sense of dread and like the tone that this movie paints just like makes you feel like terrible throughout the entire runtime of it. So like I really dig the tone and the vibe of this movie. I think like artistically the choices are made very well, like the color palette and everything. Even like it's set at a beach, but everything just feels like gray. like just dark and gray.
Yeah. Another reason I thought it was London.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just dig the overall aesthetic of this film.
Yeah, it looks great, and like from a cinema perspective, it looks great. The acting, I think, is all pretty great. So and like the story is fine. Kind of like the shortcomings I have is like trying to figure out what the intention is, what I'm being told by this movie, because there's like some sort of weird disconnect for me in a little bit. But
Yeah.
overall, I think like this is like I don't know. I think that this movie is not nearly as strong as The Witch, since we brought it up.
Yeah,
And
for
I
sure.
think that the reason for
Oh,
that is that
hell
there's not
no.
enough interplay between the characters. There's too
Mm.
much of a siloing of Maud for those sorts
Yeah.
of things they could have at least done like more her talking to herself sort of things, or you know, it just seemed like there was it was lacking that, and the people she did talk to were a lot of times one-off people who didn't have much to say beyond it and beyond
There
like, the
wasn't
moment.
enough of a character arc for this character study of a movie. It didn't go deep enough into Maud, and whereas you've got The Witch and a lot of like the other more successful A24 movies, they have the benefit of like a family dynamic. So there's like layers of interaction in those movies like Hereditary and The Witch, and like this just doesn't have that. You've got Maud, so you kind of want to go deep, and you don't really get a full sense of who Maud was before she had this traumatic event that caused her to become religious. And we see her like immediately right off the bat religious as hell. She kind of has a little bit of a struggle, talks to God, is religious as hell again, and then kills some people. So there's not much of an arc to speak of, really.
Yeah.
Well, she has the arc, but it's like there's a little bit of tell and not show happening, right? Because we're told that she used to be called Katie. We're told that she used to go to the bar all the time, but we don't ever see any glimpse of the version of Maud or Katie that is like your average everyday person pre-trauma. Do you know what I mean? So we just don't have a sense of contrast between who she is and who she was.
Yeah. There was one scene I generally like, I didn't particularly like watching the struggle of Maud and Katie, like with her religion. Like that just didn't, I agree. Like even when she's like regular Katie, she's going out on the town, it felt like a lie. You know, it felt like that's not who she wanted to be. So then the arc, it really isn't there. It didn't feel like a struggle other than like desperation maybe, or like just trying to find something. But there was one convincing moment of that whole sequence where I was like, oh man, I don't know. It just kind of hit me in a rough way, where she's sitting at the bar alone. I think it's after she's given this dude like a handy J in the old bathroom. She's just sitting there, and there's this group of other people who are like similar to her age or something, like sitting right next to her, and she just tries to like laugh along and like get in on just like obviously they're friends, and they all like look at her like, what the fuck are you doing, like you crazy person. She just starts like laughing along and inching closer and closer, and I felt like, man, what a lonely person.
I feel for her.
That was rough.
I loved that. I loved that for the reason that like, and what's interesting, it's interesting to me that sequence of her being like, her deviating from the flock or whatever is a problem for you, or that you didn't like it as much, because that speaks exactly to what you were talking about earlier of like, you know, this is a person who thinks that she's going crazy, and she's right. But the thing about, you know, losing your mind is that you don't think you are. So you're like, she's like, this is her like almost like a last ditch effort to all comes to like one head after another, and then finally comes to a complete head where she has a vision of her crushing the man's chest, that she flashes her back to the trauma that incited her whole religious experience. And that sends her right back to religion. Like the next scene is her coming back home and atoning for what she's done. So to me, that's like, I don't know. I think that speaks to what you were talking about a little bit more. But overall, that sequence is so interesting to me because it feels like, come on, you can be Katie again. Like you just have to get a grasp on what's real. Like remember what it's like to be a real person in the world, and try not to let your trauma, like, you know, scare you from being, you know, a person that functions. You know, this is like, mental health is not a joke with that sort of it's probably has some pretty strong roots in reality in terms of what happens when you're suffering from delusions of grandeur of everything else that she's going through, religious delusions. Like, I don't know, on that level I find this movie really interesting. I just want to connect it to the religion a little stronger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
It's an interesting movie to mull over.
It is, yeah. It's got some interesting thoughts. It is like skinny though. It's not a lot of meat on these bones, I feel like. I mean, there's some tasty morsels, but they're not filling me up.
I think it's an interesting choice that Katie, when she does feel the presence of God, it's very physical, it's very sexual. Like it seems as though she's almost having a full-blown orgasm in certain sequences. And like when she lacks that, her first like gut reaction is to go out and try and get laid and like, you know, fill that void with just some random dude she picks up with at a bar. It's like she's trying to fill whatever hole inside of her brain or heart or whatever with like very physical carnal shit, whether it's religious or otherwise. You know, it's like the same emotion. Yeah.
Your phrasing is hilarious.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Gotta fill the old hole with some God.
Fill the
you blow hard.
The literal or metaphorical void, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought that was interesting, and there's also like some like homosexual undertones in this movie. I thought like she doesn't confront the male prostitute or whatever that you guys brought up. I don't even remember him. I just know him because you brought him up in your synopsis, Bob. But the female sex worker that comes to be with Amanda, she's the one that gets confronted. And also like homosexuality is like the hot button, you know, religious problem that it is to people. And she also, like, when she has that experience with God, whenever she has an experience with God, she's alone in bed, or the one time she's sitting next to a woman who she's supposed to be caring for and who is also theoretically, or in her mind, also having a religious experience. So I feel like, and I don't know, I can't put a name on it, I can't label it, other than I think there's some sort of like commentary happening about some like, maybe she's also repressing some latent homosexual tendencies or something like that. That's the only kind of button I could put on it, but it seems, I feel like there's an intentional choice being made there.
Yeah, it could. And I took it as more of like a jealousy thing because the girl was close to like the same age as Maud, the sex worker. And so they were more like peers, and where we see where like Maud becomes attached to Amanda in what seems like a very like sexual kind of way. I mean, she obviously has to take care of her where she bathes her and stuff, but it seemingly seems like they have a shared orgasm in this supposed like religious experience. So it's almost like this jealousy of a relationship where Maud gets rejected, where she sees it as like it's like a Cain and Abel type thing. It's like where her goods of God and wholesomeness and everything that's offered up to Amanda isn't good enough. She wants the flashy, you know, wild woman, and like she wants the wild parties and the arts and things like that. And so it's almost this just like secondary rejection of like, no, you're like, what you have to offer is not good enough for me either, in that kind of way. So that was interesting.
I agree with you totally. And like one thing also that we haven't talked about yet, this is a bit of a digression, but this movie, like, it had some pretty good jump scares, like quality, well-earned jump scares, I would say. Like certainly that last shot, like we talked about, of her burning, which is cut from like hard cut from her, you know, being ethereal with angel wings to burning alive with body horror emphasis. So there's that. You have her having sex with this guy on a bender and then it flashing to a busted chest cavity. We have, you know, Amanda at the end, like we didn't even talk about that, where she, like before Amanda is murdered, they have a conversation, and Amanda's not in her best health at this point, but she's sitting there and she's like, I'm sorry, I was cruel to you. Like she doesn't even question why she's there. She's like, you know, I didn't mean to be cruel to you. I'm just, I hated that you made me think about my death, or I needed something to escape from my worries about death. I'm not ready to die, that sort of thing. And, you know, she's like, but you know, this isn't real, right? and then Maud has this like little moment where she just starts weeping, where it's like it seems like she's like this close, like just a fraction of a centimeter away from like breaking back into reality and being like, what am I doing? Like this, I can't kill somebody to save them. That doesn't make sense even. Like it's one of the goddamn 10 commandments not to kill. What the fuck am I even thinking? So but then like Amanda has, at least for our viewing pleasure, turns into Satan and like just starts screaming, and that jump scare of her screaming fucked me up. It was a very effective scare for me.
Yeah, that was a good scene. That was a good scene.
And it's
I
like,
did the
oh,
old
how
elbows.
weak you are.
I was sitting between Rob and Mikey. I did the elbows flared out for that scene.
Oh, boys.
One day you're gonna pop somebody's rib cage. I swear.
Elbows flared out.
Very sharp elbows you have.
I broke my friend's rib cage in Paranormal Activity 12.
Damn. Yeah, that was all the like horror scenes were great, I thought.
Yeah.
Except, I mean, the God one, I still feel like it's cheap in a way because it felt ripped from The Witch for me.
Oh, like, the God speaking thing?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it like legit, I was like baffled that it felt so ripped. I was like, is this the same? I was like, no, for like a split second, I was like, is this the same director? I was like, no, fucking Robert Eggers.
Well, I mean,
like, what the fuck are they doing?
Talking to God, talking to disembodied voices to spur on the last act of a movie. I mean, that's a tale as old as time. I think that what's kind of pushing that to The Witch for us is the fact that this movie is tonally so similar and deals with similar subject matters.
Yeah,
so like
I mean,
it's
even
already
the setup
got a
of the
few like
animal,
checkpoints.
like, oh, this animal, and then it becomes this disembodied voice, and like the way it's shot where like you are constantly focused on the
Direct
female.
face.
Yeah,
That's
I
true.
don't know. It was too much.
It is a head-on camera shot.
It's a foreign language as well. It all feels very similar.
Yeah,
that's a fair point. So yeah, there's a lot of similarity there. If they had handled that a little differently, maybe. I kind of feel like we should have seen more of her having conversations with herself in one way or another throughout the film.
Yeah.
Like the thing is, like, the movie is not like Rob said. There's not a whole lot of like ambiguity about whether or not she's crazy. At least not to me, there wasn't, like, or whether or not she's like circling a drain of insanity or of delusions anyway. So why not? If you're gonna like lean into it, then lean into it. And if you'd like, my preference would be not to, but if you're going to, you might as well like lay the groundwork for that and make it less, that in and of itself would make it less similar to The Witch and make it more distinctive that she's like having these conversations with herself, even if she's just like reading her Bible out loud, and then starts doing like a Gollum, like one shot reverse shot of herself talking in the character voices of the Bible or something. I don't know. I'm spitballing here, but I feel like there's
Randy.
There's some way to sort of lay that groundwork where it's not the same. Like here, like you guys said, like here comes an animal that's going to talk to you in a different language with a head-on shot of you coming to grips with the supernatural.
Yeah.
So
I think we've touched on just about everything. And is there anything else you guys want to mention real quick before we rate Saint Maud?
Were there Yabos in this movie? I can't remember. There's a couple sex scenes.
Yeah.
I don't think there were.
Yeah, I don't think they're not like they ain't profiled, They're just,
I don't recall any.
I don't remember any either. But
maybe
I'm
wrong, but there was definitely some ass in this movie.
There's some ass. I don't think there was
nudity.
Yabos. I was considering if I had to give a 0.5 or not. I don't think I do.
This would be a creepy movie to give a 0.5 for Yabos too.
Everything was consensual from what I saw.
Well,
was it?
I would disagree, but okay.
Sexually.
I would still disagree.
Well, okay.
Yeah, let's rate this thing out of 5. Juice, why don't you kick us off? How you feel about Saint Maud?
I like this movie pretty good. On the second viewing, I wouldn't necessarily say that I liked it more or less. Maybe I was just able to, I don't know, make sure that I got everything the first time, which I think I pretty much did. This is a skinny movie. I remember when it ended in the theaters, I was like, that's it? It's done? It's short and it's pretty streamlined. And there's like a lot to respect about that in some cases. I still think, even if they wanted to go the direction of her struggling with her faith and like this kind of character study, I still think there should have been more interaction with um, Amanda. And also to that fact, I think, or I thought there could have been, as a counterbalance, almost there could have been like these 3 acts where one is Maud versus or Maud with Amanda, then there could be like Maud, and then there could be like a Maud with her friend from the hospital. I can't remember her name. Because we get glimpses of that too, and that could have been like more of, you know, this is Katie, this is Maud with, or, you know, this is Katie with her friend from the hospital, this is Maud with Amanda, and then somewhere in between there, there's this like blend of them, or like there's this struggle between those two. That could have even been more interesting. She needed to interact with more people. Just her having, I agree that it was never in a lot of question about her faith for me, even when she was trying to be like Katie again, and it didn't feel authentic. It felt awkward. It felt like she was forcing it. So she doesn't really have a lot of like growth. I don't know. It's not like that interesting, I guess. However, this movie is filmed really well. It's got a great style. The acting is great. Like you guys said, the horror aspects, they really land. They're a little sparse, but when they hit, they land really solid. There's a lot to respect about this movie. I like that decision that they did with God about making it voiced like by the girl who played Maud. And I don't know, I just felt like they could have added more to it, especially for the runtime. It wouldn't have killed you to have like a handful more dialogues that lasted, you know, up to 10 minutes, just like 2 or 3 more, a couple minutes a piece for more interaction and struggle or something, and just add an extra 10 to 15 minutes on this movie. That would not have hurt it at all, in my opinion. So overall, having seen this twice, I'm glad I watched it the second time. I didn't mind watching this second time, but I don't like particularly want to watch it again. Not really. So I'm going to give this movie a 3.5 out of 5.
3.5 from Juice. Randy, how you feel about Saint Maud?
So I think this is like from a craft standpoint, from a tone standpoint, I like most things about this movie. I think like Justin said, there needs to be more groundwork laid to get to know Maud, and particularly Katie version of Maud. I kind of just want to know more about the incident that happened, and or more about who she was before the incident, and so that I can visually contrast these two people as she's made this mental break or this religious break, however you want to look at it. I feel like there's a reason they didn't do that though, and the reason is that isolation is a huge factor in mental health. So like having her self-isolate and having her friend like not come out and party with her when she's trying to get back into the real world, but come too late and be completely like drowned out or tuned out by Maud as she's standing there about to go kill somebody and then just be shooed away. I think there's some value to that relationship, that little mini arc between those two characters. I think there's something interesting there. The thing is, we don't know enough about who Katie was before she was Maud, and we also like, I feel like some well-placed flashbacks or some well-placed delusional dialogue could have laid that groundwork for us. You know, again, like it seemed like there was just a little bit of show not tell, or I'm sorry, tell not show. Things are just like very, very lightly hinted at to give us context of who she was, and I just feel like it just wasn't quite enough to make her whole arc of going from point A to point B of burning herself alive really come to life for me. Let's see what else. I thought the scares were really great. I already covered that. I thought the audio in this is really good for the most part, and I agree that some of the decisions, like having her voice God and those things, I like all that stuff. I agree with all that stuff. The real issue that I come to with this movie is not that there's not enough meat on the bones so much as it's like it's like two great tastes that aren't necessarily jiving together. Do you know what I mean? So like I've got this religious aspect and you've got this mental health aspect, and they're playing off each other, and there's some interesting stuff that you could pick at there, but they don't pick at it enough to really make a clear stance known or make any sort of like clear impression about what they're going for. So we are filling in those gaps ourselves, and that there's something to be said for that, right? Like that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But as I'm watching this movie, I really wanted to get to the root of what the author or what they're going for. I really wanted to know more about the intention of what they're going for, and I guess I just kind of was let down that wasn't the case. That there wasn't as much of that. There's just very plain facts stated with some hints to some other things and some delusions played straight right up until the end. I just feel like there's something that's not tethering these concepts together perfectly for me. So yeah, that's my big gripe, and it's kind of tough to put into words, so I apologize. But all that said, I still think this is a really, really well done movie. I'm gonna give it a 3.75. I think that craft-wise, this movie deserves a lot of praise. It's just like the storytelling that I feel like just needs a little bit more seasoning, you know?
Like peanut butter and cayenne pepper. Bob?
Yeah.
That sounds delicious.
Out of 5, what are you gonna give old Saint Maud?
I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I can't believe
Okay.
I gave this the highest score.
This,
I might give it a 3.
yeah, it's a 3 out of 5. This movie, I think, has a lot of interesting ideas happening. I generally don't think there's enough of a central mystery in this movie. I think they give you too much too quickly. I also don't think there's enough of a character arc for this character study of a movie to really be satisfying. So those are like my biggest gripes. I will say, artistically, I think this movie looks fantastic. I think the director is extremely competent, and I look forward to seeing what she does next. Overall, it's a pretty solid entry into making a feature film. So keep at it, Rose Glass, and I'm sure we'll be talking about whatever it is you do next.
Rose Glass sounds fake as fuck.
That's it.
That's gotta be a
Probably,
stage
but
name.
it's a dope name. I like it.
It's a good name. It rolls off the tongue. I also like you made me think of this, Bob. The 3-act structure, Justin, that you were talking about, where you have
Yeah.
yeah. I think that if I had the like capability to rewrite this film, the first act of this movie would be Katie. The second act would be post-trauma, trying to get her shit back together, getting a different job, going and meeting Amanda and having a time with Amanda. And then the third act would be pure isolation, mental break, unable to cope, and then the end.
Murder.
I would almost disagree with that. I think there's something to be said about having like a cold, vicious Maud at the beginning, and then maybe having the sympathy in the middle of like being like, oh my God, she's really trying to hold it together, and then like going buck wild or something. I don't know.
I think that you could probably reverse it to similar results, but like to me, the addition of more of the pre-trauma or like present trauma moments for her would have gone a long, long, long way.
Y'all want to know what the aggregate is?
I know.
It's a 3.4. Let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about Saint Maud.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, ladies and germs, we got us a Rotten Tomatoes segment here in which these two gentlemen are going to guess to the best of their abilities what percentage of critics and users gave a positive review to Saint Maud. So let's start with the critics review. There are 160 of them. So let's start with Bob today. Bob, what do you think the critics aggregate of positives is? That's a terrible way of phrasing that.
It's getting better every week, Randy.
Yeah, I know.
I feel like, generally speaking, this is a movie for the critics. I don't think it's going to be completely loved by all of them, but I'll go with a solid 75% for Saint Maud.
75. All right, Juice, what are you feeling?
Yeah, it's a good sample size. I think it's going to be higher on the critics. This is a bit of a snart. Snart.
Snart farping.
Snart
Bit of a
farping
shark film.
Yeah, a bit of a fart sniffy film, if you will. I think it's more of a critic style film. So I'll go a scotch higher. I'll say 82.
82%. We're gonna give a hell yes to Justin on this one.
Hell
Yeet.
You just
Wow.
bleated yeet. That was a yeet bleat.
Yeet bleat. This is a 93% certified fresh
Holy shit,
film.
wow.
Fuck.
That's pretty high.
93%.
That's way too high.
I think I don't think so. I mean, like,
Yeah.
what percentage, like, do you think is fair to give a negative
for
review?
the critics, yeah.
You know, I
Yeah.
think it's fair. There's no. Oh wait, no, it is. They moved it. Okay, the critics' consensus has moved to another location.
It's lower. Yeah, they lowered it.
A brilliant, unsettling blend of body horror and psychological thriller, Saint Maud marks an impressive debut for writer-director Rose Glass. I think that's all pretty fair.
Sorry, Randy. What was the name of this movie again?
Saint Maud.
Saint Maud.
You got to really put the girth in there, Randy. Saint Maud.
I was trying to save my ear holes, but you guys have seen to that. So let's go to the audience score now. Soju, we'll start with you this time. What are you thinking?
It's definitely going to be lower on the audience. How many people have rated this?
I'm sorry.
Randy?
Yeah, it just says 250 plus.
Okay. All right.
So.
They might be changing the way they do things.
Like less than 300, I guess.
Yeah. Man, I mean, because it's a slow burn. It's religious, or it's got like a lot of religious stuff going. So I would imagine that the audience might be a little more divided on this. I'm going to take it pretty low for such an artsy kind of film. I'm going to say maybe 65.
65. All right, Bobby, what are you thinking?
I'm just gonna play it safe and take the comedy number of 69, please.
69 dudes.
69 dudes is our winner for this evening. It's actually
No
only
hell
1
yeets,
point
please.
off. It's a 68. 68.
Oh, no yeet bleed this time, baby. Saint Maud.
What's the
Hey,
what?
hey, Bob.
What's
Hell skeet.
Thank you.
is that the opposite of a hell yeet?
Yeah.
What is
Yeah,
what is
I
the
prefer
direct
skeet
polar
to
opposite?
yeet.
Yeah,
Well,
that's me
I mean-
mocking hell yeet with the word skeet. So that's,
Sure.
Oh
that's what I
wow!
got.
Oh,
That's
wow!
Mhm.
Oh wow!
Great
Wa-
explanation.
Oh wow! Wow.
Satan must be stopped at every opportunity.
You really
we're playing that
foiled me,
bump.
Bob.
Mhm, you've been foiled.
All right, so that's our Rotten Tomatoes segment. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll try and find one negative review here. There's none on the front page. It really seems like they're burying the negatives here.
Mm.
You know what? Fuck it.
Fuck
This
it.
movie has no negatives.
Tight. We included the trivia in the movie reviews, so we're gonna go ahead and skip right on to Cooter of the Week.
Oh shit.
Straight chillin'. Gooder of the week.
Juice, what is a cooter? Why are we hunting them?
Thanks for asking, Bob. Let me tell you all about it. Cooter is character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. So, Cooter has to hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter. We want the Cooter with the most points to be Cooter of the Week. The 5 points are manipulation, sexual deviancy, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, who are we taking to Cooter Court this week?
It really seems like there's only one major option to talk of here.
Saint Maud.
Saint Maud.
Madam Maud herself.
All right, let's talk Saint Maud. Randy, nominate for one of the points, please.
All right, so I'm gonna start with patheticness because and it's this is not like a pathetic in the sense that like, oh, that's so pathetic, fuck you. This is really more of like I feel for this woman on some level.
Yeah, she's
Especially
pathetic.
like, yeah, that scene you described of her like kind of like leaning into a friend group as if she's part of the crew. Like, that's I have seen that happen in reality. Like, I've been a part of a group at like a show or a convention or like whatever, chit-chatting or whatever, and somebody just kind of like be hovering and then just kind of be like trying to join the circle of friends.
The little
And it's
smiles you made.
it's so sad to me because I try and like I try and be like, oh, come on in or whatever. But
Yeah.
like when I was younger and that would happen, it was like, what the fuck do you even do? When somebody's doing this to you?
It's weird, like, yeah, when you're with friends, like if you're like alone or maybe two people, like maybe, but you
I've
can't
also,
just
like-
like, you
Sorry, go
can't
ahead.
just saunter on into a group of friends.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, I've been on the other side of it too, where I've been alone in a situation, in like a show or something, and just wanted to hang out with some people, just wanted to strike up a conversation. But like in waiting for an opening to like start a conversation with somebody, you end up hovering, and you're like, oh no,
Sure, yeah.
I'm becoming everything I hate.
Damn, everything? A cooter?
Everything. Yes. So yeah, patheticness, and not just on that level either. It's like, the self-flagellation or whatever. Like, I mean, to me, that's maybe a personal thing, but like whipping yourself literally bloody is not what I would consider to be sane or reasonable behavior. That's the mark of somebody with some serious trauma, and certainly the case in this film, somebody with some trauma that they're working out in an unhealthy way.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start there. We could go next.
I'm gonna
to
give
what? What's the
her
next one?
a tire because the girl wears a bed sheet.
That's pretty
Toga, toga, toga.
Yeah.
Toga mode!
Oh, poor girl.
What if this movie ended with her going to a fucking kegger in a toga party? I would love that twist.
A kegger in heaven, Randy. A
That's
kegger with
right.
God.
That's
We're not
living
hosting.
deliciously, right?
Am I
We're
right?
intergalactic.
Am I right, guys? Yeah.
No.
I want to give her. Can I give her the old sexual deviance for the
You
old
can
I don't think
make
so.
your case.
for the rough handy J in the bathroom hall? Now, I think like in
Joyless handy J.
Yeah, like in
Consensual nonetheless.
consensual. However, she was doing it in a very public place, and at that point, you start to involve the public in your sexual acts, and that's people sometimes just want to go out and have a good time and not worrying. Like have to worry about turning the corner and maybe getting jizzed on, I'm just saying.
Justin, I know some things about you and your sexual life that would, if we follow that track, label you a cooter. So I'd be careful.
Well,
Let's
no, you
not
could just give me the sexual deviance tick, Randy. I mean,
Okay,
Nah.
all right. Well, the smugness is not what's is already a given.
I don't think
so-
it's really warranted. If anything, the sexual deviance goes to that fucking dude that she went home with. But that's,
yeah. Rob was saying he thought he put it in her brown eye.
it seemed that way towards the end, or at least he was forcing herself upon her.
So,
in
yeah,
general.
that I don't know if
Rob's
it was like
assumption.
I don't know if it was anal necessarily, but it was certainly non-consensual, whatever it was. And that was not on her by any means.
No,
Like,
yeah, that wasn't.
and the other thing is like she was extraordinarily drunk to begin with, so
Yeah.
already
And that dude was even like, you had it off with me, mate.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is wrong with this person? Like,
Oh, interesting. European style.
European style.
with me, mate.
So yeah, I don't think that sexual deviance ranks that high.
Goddamn. Okay.
Looking at Tyra, patheticness certainly. Manipulation, she doesn't do a lot of. I mean, I guess she kind of manipulates, or at least lies to that the new caretaker or caregiver when she sees her out on her lunch break or whatever and makes conversation about Amanda.
Yeah, and she
That's
also,
a little manipulative.
She like tries to, I don't know if you call this manipulation, but she like injects herself into Amanda's life and tries to get that girl to stop coming around. She's like, you better leave Amanda alone. Like that's a little much.
that might rank higher on the smug arrogance scale.
Yeah,
Like,
probably.
to insert yourself into
Yeah.
somebody's life, especially somebody who is you work for, and especially somebody who is dying. Let this woman do whatever she needs to do.
Yeah, yeah, do your damn job. Also, I give smug arrogance for, I don't know, just her general attitude about like when she gives the bum like money and she's like, don't let your pain go to waste or whatever. I don't know. That's pretty smug. Or I don't know, that's got like, oh, manipulation. I forgot, we didn't even talk about the scene. It's not that important. I can't even remember like the significance it had. But when she kind of sits with the new nurse, so she kind of like stalks and sits down with the new nurse who doesn't know anything about her, like that she was fired. And she's, I guess, getting her to tell her about Amanda. I guess
the scoop.
Yeah, I guess the significance is that she doesn't have much longer to live. Amanda doesn't. So I guess that's why she kind of has to like get in a rush to go kill her herself.
I think so, yeah.
And I think she also got upset at the fact that when they're having their conversation, like Maud says something like, or the new nurse says something like, it's always sad when like when you have to leave, and she's like, what do you mean, like when you get sent home or when you get transferred or fired or whatever? She's like, no, just like when they die. And you're led to believe that Maud in her career has like always just been asked to leave, like she's never been with a patient.
That's true.
Until
they actually die of natural causes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing. Like if they had shown or even talked about her having a string of failed, caregiver positions, like they kind of imply that, but they're very non-explicit with it.
Yeah.
So I didn't really take that as, it was more of just a thought and not so much something I took as being her situation.
That's also, I felt a little bad at, maybe it's pathetic, but this is something that I just realized. Somebody mentions the hospital that she worked at, and they mention it as a very kind of like dodgy place. And I remember the second time I watched it, I just assumed she's so young and inexperienced that it was probably like the training that she received was why she's in this terrible situation to begin with. And so that was kind of like sad
Maybe
on her end. Like she probably like, really just was trying to do something.
She a cooter or not?
Yeah, she's good.
I think she hits enough of them. This is a more subtle cooter than we're used to. I think this is not a big Hollywood
cooter light.
This is a
down artsy
grounded cooter. Artsy cooter. Yeah.
She's not gonna make it on the calendar. Let's just say.
Nah, she's not strong enough to make it on the calendar with the with the hair jacket guy from the Peanut Butter Solution.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good Lord.
The Monsieur.
So yeah, she's got arrogance. She's got look at style. So not sexual deviance though. I don't know. Yeah, she works. She works in the cooter world.
Manipulation. Yeah, arrogance. All right, Maud Cooter. Yep, she didn't do that. Saint Maud is a cooter officially. We booked her. Thank the Lord. Let's go ahead and let our hair down. Get into the social hour. We're talking about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Ooh, my hair is down.
Good, because Randy, what you been watching?
Well, it's been we recorded a little early last week, so it's been a little while, and I got a few things on here. I watched Goodfellas again, which is only the second time I've seen it. I actually haven't seen it since maybe early college, late high school, when I was very impatient with films, and I was not really, I don't think, prepared for this movie. So I wanted to give it another look, and it's a great movie. It lives up to its reputation. I don't have the same reverence for it that I think other people do, and I don't know that I'll be the guy that watches it every time it's on or anything like that, but it's a damn good movie. I watched with some friends online. I watched Dunstan Checks In and Blank Check in a double feature, which was so funny to watch. I have never seen Dunstan Checks In before, and
really,
yeah,
nice.
It's a hilarious movie in which Otho from Beetlejuice just gets shit rained upon him constantly for the sin of being a fat guy. It's really, really dumb and funny, and Blank Check is no different. And Miguel Ferrer and all that shit. It was so much fun to just riff on these movies. It's been a while since I've done that. So it was good. I also I've been keeping up with WandaVision. I'm a little iffy on it at the moment. And then I found this show that's on YouTube, but I guess it's a Comedy Central show. I watched it on YouTube. It's kind of an adult swimmy sort of thing, but it's called Blark and Son. Have you guys heard of Blark and Son?
Nope.
I have not.
It's I feel like it's an extremely deep pull. It's a puppet, literally like puppets, but it's like those sort of silicone, like kind of hyper realistic puppets that are like, they look like living caricatures. And it's really just, it's really gross and weird. Like they got zits and shit, and it's like a son and his father, and like they're like really bizarre adventures. And Christopher Mintz-Plasse is the son, and then the creator of the show is the father's voice. And what's his name? Dean Pelton from Community is in it. Justin Roiland is in it. Like there's just like a bunch of people in it or whatever, and they're just like these puppets that are doing really bizarre shit, and it just looks really disturbing. If you saw if you look up Blark and Son and you look at these puppets, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's the kind of thing where they used to do this sort of like weird silicone puppetry in like the 90s for kids shows, but it was so disturbing that like it would have given kids nightmares. So they turned it into an adult sitcom sort of thing, adult swimmy style thing. It's weird. I'm not even sure I like it, but I've watched a lot of it. It disturbs me in all the right triggered ways. That's pretty much it. Oh yeah, and then last night was a reunion show for Harmontown, which has long been my favorite podcast, and it was excellent. It was the regular crew plus Kumail Nanjiani and Emily V. Gordon. Anyway, it was great. I don't know if they're gonna put that out on like for people to listen to or not, but it was a live stream sort of thing. So that was great. That was it for me.
Sweet. Juice, what you been watching?
I watched a little bit of that WandaVision. I'm caught up now. I loved the 90s themed episode, which just so happened to be the Halloween episode. Yeah. That was dope. But I did not like the newest episode. I'm not about what's happening right now. But I am caught up on that. I watched a new docuseries on Netflix about the Cecil Hotel in LA. It's it's kind of like what season 4 of American Horror Story was based off of, the one with Lady Gaga in it, and it's like hotel or whatever. It's crazy how much like they made that like the lobby look like exactly the same, pretty much. It's very interesting, but it's about a girl who dies there, but they talk about the history of the hotel and stuff too. I plan on doing a mini series on that. I think Netflix is just cranking one of these out a month because it follows the same format. It's 4 episodes, about an hour-long piece, as the same as The Ripper and same as The Night Stalker. So I think they're just cranking these things out like once a month.
Them and HBO are both like they are truly embracing the true crime wave in every conceivable way.
This one particularly is called Crime Story: Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. I watched it as well. And Crime Story is going to be like a reoccurring series.
Okay, I see.
They're already filming like the second season. So
I got you.
It'll be, it's like the same director, producer. I forget his name, but he's done a shitload of documentaries. So he's going to keep working for Netflix.
Okay. I started playing Little Nightmares.
2 or 1?
Little Nightmares 2.
Okay, I was going to say, you've already played 1.
No, it just came out a week and a half ago or something, at least on Xbox. And so I played that. It's fun. It's very similar to the first game, but just new settings and characters and stuff. But so I am going to do a video game review on that. But that was fun. And again, playing Zombies Ate My Neighbors with Bob, that was a lot of fun. That's one of those names that just popped up a lot, and like a lot of people like it. I just never played it before. Bob hadn't either, and we had a lot of fun playing it. It's tough, but it was a really fun co-op game. So that was cool. I've been watching this show on Netflix. It's like a reality show. It's got a ridiculous name. It's like Get Blown or something. But it's like about glass blowers or something. And they make all these like innuendo like jokes about too, because also like the furnaces that they put the glass in, they're called glory holes. And so they always just like They always say too, it's like, who's the blow of the week or something. I don't know. It's ridiculous. However, the show's cool because it's just people making like really like baller shit. And it's pretty short. It's like 28 minutes. I just like seeing these people make amazing things out of glass. But it's just so ridiculous how, like, I don't know, the jokes they make about it. But I've been watching that and actually enjoying it pretty good. I think that's about it. I think that's about all I've been watching. I can remember at least. Bob, what you been watching?
I revisited The Burbs.
Whoa,
Oh.
Classic.
Yes.
Is Satan your pal?
Satan is my pal. Satan is my friend. I want to kill everybody. I love that movie, man. It never gets old. Old Tom Hanks starring in this horror comedy. Princess Leia is in it. Yeah, we did a show on it a couple years back.
Oh, did you have to show it to Alice? That's
did.
why? Yeah, because Tom Hanks.
Exactly. Yeah, I did. She enjoyed it. It's one of those movies that I remember watching like over and over as a kid. It's just like an instant feel good movie for me. It's got Corey Feldman in it. It's fantastic. They used to play it on Comedy Central constantly back in the day. Check it out if you've never seen that. In return, Alice showed me Josie and the Pussycats, which I know you're a big fan of, Randy. I'd never seen it before, and that shit is very funny. It's very self-aware, and it's just like making fun of like boy bands / girl groups. And like I remember back when I was a kid and it came out, I figured it was just like, oh, that's just like a teen girl movie,
like Spice World.
Yeah, like
it's so much more than that.
It is a lot more than that. Like it's very smartly written, and I don't know. I had a lot of fun with that. Would recommend it.
Backdoor Lover? Come on.
Yeah, that's about butt sex.
That's a legitimately like that's as good as any boy band song from the era. It's as good as fucking NSYNC not Boys to Men, not as good as them.
Not as good as that.
But from the 90s, 2000s. Oh, so good.
Good shit.
And it's about butt sex.
Funny shit. It's got Seth Green in it. Can't go wrong. Also, I started rewatching some Stranger Things and got through about the first half of the first season. This show's fucking great. It's just great. Watch it if you haven't. That's really all I've been watching. We got one more segment to get into. It is our Hotline Scream.
Hotline Scream.
If you are listening and would like to call in and leave us a voicemail, you can do so at 904-638-3231. We got 5 voicemails we're getting through this week. We actually got like over 10 voicemails this week, which is just more than we can play on one episode. So we're going to get to the first 5, and if we can get to the second group next week, we will. It just depends on how many people call in. We're going to try to get to them all, but sorry if you don't hear your voice tonight. We'll try and get to it eventually.
We make no promises.
Yeah, we can only do so much. If this was our 9 to 5, then we'd fucking do everything all the time. Drunk reactions every day of the week, but we just can't.
If only Bob would quit his job and hang out with me all day.
Right. Fuck it.
That would be cause for concern if you were drinking every day.
Yeah, that'd be not great.
It's for work. What?
I'm on the clock, baby. So yeah, we got 5 people calling in. Last week, I think our main prompt was just asking about what our listeners do for their day jobs. If you happen to listen to us at work, what do you do while you're listening to us? So we had some people call in about that. Some people called in just to say, hey, what's up? I think first voicemail, we're going to hear from Chris. Let's hear what he has to say.
Hi, Straight and Chillin' crew. This is Chris from Phoenix. Apologize if the sound quality is bad. I have a 3-hour commute every day to and from work, so I'm calling while I'm driving hands-free. Wanted to thank you guys for the podcast. I'm really picky when it comes to podcasts, especially movie podcasts. I usually tune out really fast as soon as people get really snarky. And I like that you guys, even if you don't like a movie, you don't shit on the people that like them or shit on the things themselves. I tried a horror movie podcast a couple weeks ago, and the first thing they started talking about was like that big Star Wars announcement with all of the Star Wars projects that were coming. And it just immediately, like, you know, started making me feel guilty for liking Star Wars or whatever. But also wanted to tell you guys that the whole bit a couple weeks ago about the jet ski, that made me laugh really hard when I was driving home. I'm usually a humorless son of a bitch, but I was literally laughing really hard. And so, yeah, and then also birthday cakes. You know, I just on the birthday, because I can't do it all the time, I like to break out the, you know, do some role playing and break out the Harry Potter and the Dumbledore costume. That's always a lot of fun. Switch roles sometimes. Totally kidding. Anyways, have a good one, and I'm looking forward to listening to my Bloody Valentine episode. Thanks.
Bit? I don't know what bit he's talking about. Is he talking about
we died and went to hell?
We were in hell, friend. Okay,
burning for a week.
It was a marriage to the beast.
The things we do for you listeners, we went straight to hell.
And if you do want to hear us totally shit on a movie, there is an episode for one of the Underworld films somewhere in the archives. That does exist if you ever get the urge.
It's like episode
I'm sure you did,
or
but
something.
I mean, paper
We
tigers.
also picked
man.
a
There's
bad
nothing
one,
there.
okay? We talked about like part 5 or something. Let's be fair.
Oh,
It was
bad
Blood Shark.
Underworld is
Underworld Blood
is
Shark.
a little. A bad Underworld is a little redundant, don't you think?
Randy, you're so snarky.
I'm
Thanks-
so snarky.
Thanks for calling in, Chris.
Yeah,
I
man,
hope your
3 hour.
Dumbledore sex goes really well, man.
That shit cracked me up pretty good.
Yeah.
Man, you get a lot of ideas, I'm sure, driving 3 hours to and fro. every
Dude,
day.
whoa, man. Yeah, I
That's nuts.
hope, if anything, we can make your drive a little bit better, man. That sounds.
I'm gonna
sounds
keep
rough.
up the energy so that you can not fall asleep at the wheel or some shit.
Yeah, oh man.
That sounds awful to me.
So
I
is
would
he
not-
saying 3 hours to and then 3 hours from?
That's what it sounds like.
6
I'd say it's 3
hours?
hours total. I don't know.
Jesus Christ.
That's worth a
Saint
good old-fashioned
Maud!
yeet bleep.
My dear
Saint
Maud.
Jesus Christ.
Sweet Maud Almighty.
Wow. Chris, stay awake. Don't crash your vehicle. That would blow. I think next up, we're going to hear from Kristen. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hi, Straight Chilling crew. This is Kristen calling again from Canada. I called last week about the peanut butter solution, and you guys told me to check out the Christmas Martian. I had left a prior voicemail, but the system cut me off because I was talking too long. I was rambling about this horrible movie that I just watched. But yeah, it was kind of weird. I had to find it on like some weird obscure Facebook page from this guy from Quebec who posts like weird shit that I guess he just finds, including this movie. And it was kind of, I don't know how to feel about the movie, because it was like, it definitely had kind of the same look as A Christmas Story, but it was a lot more washed out, and it just kind of, it didn't really make, I mean, it did make sense. It had a weird storyline. This police officer is looking for this Martian who went into a convenience store and ate all these jubes. And he was wearing like this weird full body green fishnet leotard, which I thought was kind of also weird. And he leaves green footprints in the snow. And he was wearing like a face net balaclava thing. I don't know. The whole movie was really weird. I don't know if I would ever watch it again. But it was something that I've never seen. So, I'm always up for weird, obscure movies. But in response to the prompt of what I do during the day, I'm a graphic designer, and I work for a food company, and I absolutely hate my job. I have no creative say in anything, and the person who makes the decisions is a complete fucking moron. So, but your podcast makes my day go faster. So, but I do painting and I do freelance on the side, so that helps me out. But I I don't do anything interesting. I'm not a butthole nurse, so I definitely I don't top those people. But just wanted to let you guys know that I watched the Christmas Martian, and it was fucking terrible, and I'll never watch it again. But I appreciate the recommendation. I just wanted to let you guys know what I think about it, and I love your podcast, and I'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Well, okay. It exists.
It
So
does.
there's confirmation.
Thank you for finding that. I'm shocked that you did and that you actually watched it, so that we don't have to. Apparently, it sucks. Thanks for doing the heavy lifting.
I don't know, man. The amount of times she used the word weird really makes me want to watch this movie.
Yeah. It
Might
sounds
have to-
like you would enjoy it. If anybody did on the show, it would be you, Randy. You like the weird shit.
I do like some weird shit. I mean, I like peanut butter solution somehow. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. That also graphic design solidarity. Go team, go team. I'm sorry your job sucks and your boss is a moron. I don't think that's a unique problem, unfortunately. Yeah. But get that freelance going, man. It's the life. It's a good life.
Hell yeah. Thanks for calling in. Keep watching some weird shit. We look forward to hearing about more weird shit in the future. Next up, we are going to hear from Michael. Let's see what he has to say.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Michael at Horrorpocalypse calling in. It's been a while. I just listened to your My Bloody Valentine episode. My Bloody Valentine is probably one of my favorite horror movies ever. Great slasher flick. One of my earliest memories. I don't know, it was 5 or 6, I think, when I saw it, and the scene where the girl falls out of the dryer, that's just embedded in my memory for forever. I love that movie. But I wanted to give you guys a call and issue a challenge to some folks here that are they're getting by with 8 episodes a day. I got you all beat. You guys know. But anyway, I forget what I was really calling for. I got into work and my back office smells absolutely horrible. Oh, that's what I was going to call you guys about. What job I do. I work for the second largest cable and communications company in the country. I can't exactly tell you the name because I'm just trying this new thing where I'm trying to keep my work out of everything, but I work for a cable and communications company. We'll just leave it at that. I don't get to listen to you guys much at work anymore because we've gotten so much busier, but I do listen to and from work, and my drive is about 45 minutes a day, so to work and 45 minutes back. So I get usually an episode in a day. That's pretty much about it, guys. Thank you so much for everything that you do. You guys are a great cast. I have my own, but I listen to you guys more than I want to even record my own. You guys are fantastic. So keep up the great work. And Dustin, you deserve a hell yeet. I can't do it as well as some of these other guys, but just know your hell yeet is in my heart for you, buddy. I got you. Have a great one.
Thanks for all the hell yeets, guys. Bob refuses to give them to me, so
it's not just me; it's Randy too.
Well, I mean, but you're the one who's supposed to get. You're the one who's losing, Bob.
Whatever.
The protocols have been set forth by Justin.
Right. I shall not hell yeet bleat upon you. I won't do it.
But getting all the love from the listeners, that just makes it all worth it. I don't even want hell yeets from Bob anymore. Only from the listeners.
Oh, buddy.
I don't even want it.
You soldier on, friend.
It's fine. I didn't even want a hell yeet. It's fine.
I never wanted it in the first place.
Hey, Michael, that's incredibly impressive that you listen to us that much. I'm like blown away that people listen to us at all. So the fact that people listen to us talk some shit for that many hours a day, it can't be good for you guys, really.
Michael did an impressive amount of research for us here recently that required him listening to all of our shows.
Oh my Lord.
So thank you so much for doing that, man. That was a big help. We really appreciate it.
Everybody send your hell yeets to Michael as well.
Yeah.
Listen to Horror Puckle.
You can watch too. They do the watch parties and stuff on
That's
Fridays, so you can watch in and listen. Yeah, check out Horror Apocalypse. Show Michael some love because he's definitely been showing us some. We appreciate it, man. Next up, we're gonna hear from Leslie. Let's roll tape.
What up, nerds? This is Leslie coming at you from Bend, Oregon, and I'm just calling to let you guys know how much I appreciate your show. Honestly, I've been listening for over a year, and I've probably listened to every single episode. I'm fortunate enough to be able to listen at work, so I have listened for a straight 10 hours some days to just your podcast after podcast. So I'm loving it, and I'm a big horror fan. Not as big as you guys, though. I don't get to watch as much as you do, but and let's see, I wanted to let you know that I saw the original Exorcist at the movie theater, and I was younger, but I remember it scared me so bad. Every time I close my eyes, I see her face, and I ended up having to crawl in bed with my parents like 3 nights in a row. So that was fun. I also saw the original Night of the Living Dead in the theater, and that was 68, so I'm pretty sure I wasn't super young when I saw it. I don't remember exactly, but I just know that one really scared me too. Anyway, I really love your podcast. You guys make me laugh out loud sometimes. Honestly, very entertaining. And I just appreciate all you guys do. So just keep it going, guys. All right. Peace out.
So I think our protocol for who we play when we have an overflow is just the people who are going to make me feel the most warm fuzzies, because all these people are making me feel great.
We're getting a lot of love from the ladies lately, too.
The ladies!
Whoa.
I mean, we heard from Chris and Michael, too, so it's not
That's
gender
true.
specific.
Oh, yeah, it has been even. All right.
Leslie,
Thanks,
thank you for that.
guys,
And,
as
you
well.
know, I love Bend, Oregon, by the way. I stopped in at the Blockbuster, which I'm sure you hate that the entire town is reduced to the last Blockbuster in America, but it is what I did when I was there, and it's a great spot. I just love Oregon in general. It's a beautiful place.
They just released a documentary about that last Blockbuster. Like, it just
I
came out
saw
last
that.
week, actually. I think it's called The Last Blockbuster. So check
Yeah.
it out. Yeah, thanks for calling, Leslie. I'm glad you enjoy the show. Watching The Exorcist in the movie theater as a child is fucking cool and probably really horrifying. So a way to survive that.
Yeah, and Night of the Living Dead too. I mean, damn.
Yeah, that's some cool
It's,
shit.
not as terrifying maybe, but certainly
iconic.
A feather in your cap.
Yeah, really cool. Thanks for calling in. Hope you're doing well. We got one more voicemail we're going to hear from Simon. See what he has to say.
Hey guys, this is Simon from Alabama. I was just calling about your most recent prompt about the, blue collar jobs. And it actually gave me a reason to call in because, not very kinky, and I've been married for 5 years, so Valentine's Day is Valentine's Day. But yeah, I'm a tire builder. I work in a tire factory, and I just put the tires together all day, anywhere from 250 to 380 or so. Like today, I'm working a 12-hour shift. But yeah, that's my boring ass job that I do. Well, I listen to you guys, and you really make work enjoyable. So thank you all for that. And I'd also like to give you a little recommend on a movie. Don't tell Bob. Bob doesn't like good movies. Like The Lodge. Yeah. But it's called Butterfly Kisses, and I'd never heard of it. It only has 50 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes from audience, and it's really good. But anyway, yeah, just have a good day, guys, and hell yeet for old Juice over there. Keep killing, guys.
I need to develop a catchphrase. God damn.
Hell yeet.
Apparently.
Squad.
Thanks for building those tires.
Zippity zappity.
Wow, you got to do better than that, man. That's a fuckload of tires to build in one day.
Yeah, it is.
That's impressive, man. Glad you're enjoying the show. Also, it's never too late to get kinky. Don't give up yet.
Yeah.
Open the Pandora's box for us.
Get weird. Dress up like Dumbledore, like these other folks out here. Fucking like Dumbledore does.
Maybe we'll start a straight chilling kink. I don't know, marriage service or something. What is that? Counseling.
Marriage
or
marriage
service.
Kink counseling.
Kink counseling. Thank you.
Sure.
You mean a marital aid?
Like
a Gandalf costume?
Sex counseling. Sex.
Yeah. Call Soju's hotline for kink counseling.
I'll kink you up.
I'll kink you up
tell you.
real
I'll
good.
tell you what to stick where. Says Soju.
I'll kink up an arrow real good.
It's my boy Dick.
Make it fly like a boomerang.
You gotta have deadly aim with that.
I kink so good, I make an arrow fly like a boomerang. That's my catchphrase.
And Rob doesn't like good movies. You're right. You're so right, Simon. Rob only likes bad movies. That's a fact.
It's all relative.
I looked up this Butterfly Kisses. I at least got it on my
I've seen that somewhere.
Oh, really?
No, I haven't. Well, I'm sorry, I haven't seen it, but I have seen it around.
It came out 2018. It looks like.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can't hear that title though, and not think of that weird.
Yeah, that song.
Like father-daughter pop song
Sure.
thing.
That's what first came up. I had to type in horror movie.
Rob, you'd probably like it because, as we know,
I have a daddy kink.
Bob,
I've never said that.
You said that. That's your voice.
Rob, that's admissible evidence. So
Plain and clear.
Nope. Thanks for calling, Simon. Glad you're enjoying the show, man. I think that's all the voicemails we got this week. We're going to be back next week with a brand new episode. We're going to be talking about the winner of the February poll pick, which was Old Boy, the original Korean Old Boy, not the American remake. So slam your eyeballs into that. Get ready for next week's episode. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling, on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join in on the daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up in one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. Until then, keep chilling.
Satan must be stopped at every opportunity.
Bye, Randy.
Are we recording?